Hey guys, it's Phoenix Automotive here again. In this video, we're going to be going over a quick run through of the Toyota Tundra units for 2014 all the way to 2019. Now, this particular one we're looking at is the new PX6 unit. We also have the 7.1 fast boot for the same units. They have these buttons here. They have knobs here. These buttons actually light up and you can change the color on them. You have the hazard button there. We also have a different Tundra unit that has no buttons at all, and that's kind of more of a factory look to it that you could go with. However, on this video, this is for the with buttons. With that said, this is the back of the unit. On the back, you have two ports for the air conditioning, and you have the camera input right there. So this is where you plug in your factory camera. For a factory backup camera, you have the GPS antenna that you screw on right here, and this is the GPS antenna. You just take this little golden piece, screw it on. And then this GPS antenna, we route it anywhere inside the car or outside the car, just as long as inside GPS monitor you get at least one green bar and 3 satellites showing on the world picture, that Earth picture. So let's remove the GPS antenna. You have the radio connection right here. And just a couple things you're gonna get in the box. In the box, you're gonna get this harness, and in this harness, you're gonna have a bunch of RCAs. It's gonna have 3 yellow. Now the 3 yellow RCAs, they're labeled CVBS out, and aux-V. Aux-V is an input source that you can put a video source in. You have other red and white RCAs, and one of them is gonna be labeled RCAR and RCAL. RCAR and RCAL combines with this blue connector, and this blue connector also has a red and white. That's RCAL and R. And these are for your 4 speakers, 4 channel speakers if you want to hook up a 4 channel amp if you want to hook up a aftermarket sound system. These are the RCAs you would use. So you'd have to have this blue one connected and this white one connected. And based on the groove on the right side and the 2 grooves on the bottom, you're going to match them up to this connector right here. So based on this, it would go right here, and this white one would go right here. So that's the 2 positions. The other one you're gonna get is a 2 USB ports on this yellow connector. It has a groove on the bottom and a cut on the right corner, bottom right corner. And this one would go right here. So those are the 3 connections, and these 2 USB ports, one of them is labeled OTG. One of them is shorter than the other. And we also provide a USB extender. What that does, this is a connection that goes to the factory connector, and it retains one of the factory USB ports on the vehicle. So this one we recommend plugging it into the non-OTG port. So have the OTG port free, but can be used for built-in CarPlay. So if you have the built-in CarPlay option, it will be inside here, and OTG would be your built-in CarPlay where you plug in your phone for the built-in CarPlay. So make sure you have that available and not towards the factory USB port. So let's unplug these 2 because we do not have a aftermarket amplifier. Put these aside, and we're gonna still have the USB one plugged in here. And so let's look at that. Once you've done that, you have to look at your main harness. Now we've already connected a main harness up to the vehicle. This is just another one we have spare, but you're gonna see a lot of connections right here. The main connector right here goes to the top of the unit right here, and from here what I would do is go plug in everything that does fit with the car. Some vehicles, so there are 2 connections where you have to be weary of, this connector and this connector. So you're gonna have 2 connectors that have red and white RCAs, this one and this one. You're gonna use one or the other depending on the vehicle you have. So based on all these connectors, we found them on the vehicle, and once you've connected them all, we have 2 connectors that are not in use. The 2 connectors that are not in use is this one and this one. And as you can see, one of them is for the factory backup camera. So for this vehicle, we actually have the factory backup camera going to this connector, which is why we're not using this small one. We're actually using the big one. Yours might be different just depending on the car you have. And same thing with this aux one, the red and white aux. We have this connector right here, this huge connector. Yeah, so there's 2 connectors that you're not going to be using, and let's hook it up. So from this point on, you're just going to do a plug and play. If we hook this up right here, the next thing to look for is that camera connection. So because we're not using this small connector, let's look for that male RCA. Found it right here. This is the male RCA that we are using. Where does that route to? It routes to this connector. And we're gonna connect it to the back of the unit. So that's our factory backup camera. The next one is this red and white RCA. You see this big connector? This red and white, we're gonna actually find the harness we had earlier, which is right here. It's a white connector. So we actually do need this white connector. And let's plug that in here. And one of them is labeled RCA. So this one's labeled aux-R, aux-L. Let's look for a corresponding one. RCA-R, RCA-L. So this one is aux-L and aux-R, and we're going to match it up. Now what this allows you to have is the factory aux port on your vehicle. So some Tundras have like a aux port right here, and this factory aux port is retained. So if you want that sound to come through from here, this is the RCA connection you're going to be making. And let's see, I think that's about it. Don't forget about this connector. This connector will be for AC controls as well. This is for the touch control, and we're going to connect it to the bottom right here. Another connector I forgot to mention is this one. We have that right here at the bottom. You can see they are identical. So we've already made this connection. Don't forget about this. And this one would go right next to that small connector. So right here. And this is for your AC controls. The next thing to look for is of course the GPS antenna, which it will screw on right here. Let's screw this on. And the next one is the radio. Now the radio we have is let's look for that radio antenna. It should be on the main harness. So on the main harness, you can see we have this connector right here. It is an interesting connection. You can see that there are two holes. Just make sure you match up those two holes like so. And then you have the antenna plug in. So let's plug in the antenna. And that looks about all the connections you need. Again, we have two connectors we're not using, and those were the RCA red and whites, which is this one, and the male RCA, which is this one. Don't forget about the USB ports. We're gonna connect that factory USB connection to the non-OTG, which is this one. And the OTG one, we're gonna route somewhere inside the glove compartment, or somewhere we can stick it out here so that we can connect the built-in CarPlay. So let's put the unit inside. Now that the unit has booted up, well, we can test our two things. Test if your AC controls work, meaning press the fan speed. So fan speed is working. Test the feet or chest, if it's blowing on the feet or chest, and if the defroster turns on. And also check up your backup camera. So let's go in reverse and see if it triggers. So it does trigger. And you can see that there was video. But if you don't have video on the camera, you need to check two things. So for AC controls, if your AC controls don't work, check again if you have manual or auto AC. In this case, manual. We need to go into settings. At the top, you can scroll left and right to the gear icon. Then on the left side, you can scroll down to install set. Install set is where you set the car type, and that's 666888. And you can see the car type is on Tundra low. If it's on high, that just means it's for auto AC. In our case, it's manual AC, so we're going to press Tundra low again. And then in the car info, so if you've chosen Tundra low and it's still not working, check if your car info is correct. You can have an option of Chinese version or American version. We have American version. It seems to be working fine, so we're going to choose American. The protocol is BNR with AC. We're going to check mark the box at the top corner of the picture. Press OK. Whoops, let's check mark the box again. Box is check marked. Press OK. Now that it's setting the car type, we can press the back button on the bottom left corner. And if the picture, if this little screen is small, what we can do is there's a little box right there, a little square that you can press to make it a big screen. It's a little hard to get to. But now that we set the car type to Tundra low, we check mark the box, pressed OK. We can go to user settings and we can press save and reboot. I'm not going to do that right now for the sake of time. The next thing to check is if you go in reverse and you have a black screen on the video of your camera, go back in park, go into your settings at the top, Then we're gonna go scroll into install set 666-888. Okay, and you can see reversing video format. It should be CVBS. Right now it's on VGA. It seems to be working, so what I would do is I would keep it at VGA, but usually it should be CVBS. Let's do a save and reboot and see if the camera still works. So now that it's rebooted, let's check the backup camera. And the camera still works. So if your camera doesn't work, try VGA or CVBS, but ultimately it should be CVBS. So that's a quick rundown of how to hook up the Toyota Tundra. Let me show you really quick on the lights on these. I think it's pretty cool. If you press light settings, you can turn on ambient light. Right now my headlights aren't on, so if I turn on my headlights and I press on for ambient light, you can see I pressed on and I can change the color. So that's the ambient light. You can even pull these and mess with those colors. So you gotta have the headlights on. Again, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.